The observation deck of the Galactic Research Station hummed with its usual activity as Lyra pressed her face against the transparent aluminum viewing port. Her large violet eyes tracked the small human vessel docking at Bay 7. She had been waiting 3 cycles for this moment. Humans were rare this far from their home sector. Most species avoided them, calling them reckless or unpredictable. But Lyra had read every file in the station's database about them. The contradictions fascinated her. A species that could be simultaneously compassionate and brutal, logical yet driven by emotion, fragile but seemingly indestructible when threatened. The airlock hissed open, and a single human emerged. He was tall by human standards, with dark skin and closely cropped hair graying at the temples. His worn jumpsuit marked him as a cargo hauler, probably an independent operator. He carried a single duffel bag over his shoulder and walked with the easy confidence of someone who had seen 1,000 stations just like this one. Lyra's supervisor, a 4-armed Kelvite named Tom, noticed her staring. "Don't bother the human," Tom said, his translator rendering his clicking speech into smooth galactic standard. "They prefer to be left alone. I just want to ask some questions," Lyra replied, her tail swishing with excitement. "That's what you said about the Centauri trader last month." He filed a complaint about harassment. "I merely asked about his mating rituals." Tom's eye stalks drooped in exasperation. "Please, Lyra, just let the human do his business and leave." But Lyra was already moving toward the customs area, her hooved feet clicking on the metal deck plates. She intercepted the human as he finished the automated check-in process. "Excuse me, human," she said, her translator necklace converting her melodic native tongue into accented English. "May I ask you some questions about your species?" The human turned, his expression shifting from surprise to mild amusement. "That's a new one. Usually people avoid me. Name's Marcus. I am Lyra. I am a xenobiology researcher, and humans are extremely interesting to me." Marcus adjusted his bag. "Interesting? That's diplomatic. Most folks use words like crazy or dangerous. Why would they say such things?" Marcus chuckled, a sound that Lyra found pleasant. "You really don't know much about us, do you? Come on, I need coffee. You can ask your questions while I find some." The station's cantina was a neutral space where dozens of species mingled. Marcus ordered something from the human section of the menu while Lyra bounced on her hooves beside him, barely containing her excitement. "First question," she said as they found a table. "I read that humans continue fighting even when critically injured. How is this possible? Your physiology shows no redundant organs, no rapid healing factors." Marcus took a sip of his coffee and leaned back. "Pain suppression, mostly. When we're in danger, our bodies dump chemicals into our bloodstream. Adrenaline, endorphins, other stuff. Lets us ignore injuries that should put us down. But why? That seems inefficient. You could make injuries worse. Evolution, I guess. Our ancestors were persistence hunters. We didn't have claws or venom or armor. What we had was the ability to just keep going. We'd chase prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. Getting hurt wasn't an excuse to stop. It was just another problem to solve later." Lyra's tail twitched as she made mental notes. "That explains the medical reports I read." A human freighter captain continued piloting her damaged ship for 6 hours with 3 broken ribs and a punctured lung. "Sounds about right," Marcus said. "Probably didn't have a choice. Space doesn't care if you're hurt." "Second question," Lyra continued. "Humans form emotional bonds with anything. Your people keep animals as companions, name your ships, apologize to furniture when you bump into it." "Why?" Marcus laughed. "You've done your homework. Yeah, we're a social species. We're wired to make connections. It helped our ancestors survive when we lived in small tribes. These days it means we get attached to our robots, our ships, even our weapons. That seems like a weakness, Lyra said, though her tone was curious rather than judgmental. Emotional attachments cloud judgment. Maybe, Marcus admitted, but it's also our greatest strength. A human will fight harder to protect something they care about than they would for their own survival. We'll die for our friends, our families, even for strangers if we think it's right. Lyra tilted her head. I read about the incident at Proxima Station. A human engineer named David remained in the reactor room to prevent a meltdown. He knew he would die from radiation exposure. Did he save the station? Yes. Over 10,000 people survived, Marcus nodded slowly. Then he did what he thought was right. That's very human. But he had a family. Children. He chose to leave them. He chose to make sure they had a future, Marcus corrected. And that 10,000 other families stayed together. It's not about logic. It's about what you can live with. Or in his case, what you can die with. Lyra was quiet for a moment, processing this. Her species valued survival above all else. The concept of self-sacrifice was academically understood but emotionally foreign. Third question, she said. Humans are classified as a death world species, yet you are physically weaker than most predators from your own planet. How did you become the dominant species? Marcus grinned. We're persistent, we're smart, and we work together. But mostly, we're spite-driven problem solvers. Tell a human something can't be done, and we'll find a way to do it just to prove you wrong. Can you give an example? Sure. Early in our space age, everyone said humans couldn't survive long-duration spaceflight. The isolation would drive us insane, they said. Our bodies would break down. So we said, watch this, and built a station that's been continuously occupied for over 200 years. Then we colonized Mars, just because everyone said we shouldn't. Lyra's eyes widened. You colonized a hostile planet out of stubbornness? Partially, Marcus admitted. Also curiosity, ambition, the desire to ensure our species survives. But yeah, spite was definitely part of it. That explains why humans have a reputation for being difficult in negotiations, Lyra said. You refuse to accept limitations. We prefer to think of it as optimism, Marcus said with a smile. Lyra leaned forward. One more question. The files say humans have something called imagination, that you can create elaborate scenarios in your minds that have never existed. How does this work? Marcus considered this. It's hard to explain. We can combine things we've seen and experienced in new ways. We can picture things that don't exist yet. It's how we invent new technology, create art, plan for the future. But doesn't that mean humans live partially in unreality? How do you function? We function fine, Marcus said. Better than fine, actually. Imagination lets us prepare for situations we've never encountered. We can run through scenarios in our heads, figure out solutions before problems happen. It's probably why we're good at improvising. I have read many reports of humans improvising solutions with limited resources, Lyra said. A colony ship repaired their life support, using spare parts from a coffee maker and a child's toy. The coffee maker, I believe. We need our coffee, Marcus joked. But yeah, we're good at making do with what we have. Probably comes from evolving on a planet that was actively trying to kill us most of the time. Lyra sat back, her mind racing with new information. Everything she had learned contradicted the careful, logical approach her own species took to survival. Humans were chaotic, emotional, stubborn creatures who succeeded despite their apparent disadvantages. You know what I think? Marcus said, finishing his coffee. I think you're not just curious about humans. I think you're trying to understand why we're successful when we break all the rules that other species follow. Lyra's tail stopped swishing. Perhaps my people are cautious. We calculate risks. We avoid conflict. We make logical decisions. Yet humans have expanded through the galaxy faster than most species, despite being newer to space travel. Want to know the secret? Marcus leaned forward. We don't wait for perfect conditions. We don't need everything figured out before we start. We just go for it and solve problems as they come up. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we fail spectacularly. But we learn from it and try again. That sounds terrifying, Lyra admitted. It is, Marcus agreed, but it's also exciting. Every day is a new challenge, a new opportunity. We get to write our own story instead of following someone else's script. Lyra looked at the human with new understanding. His species wasn't successful despite their flaws, but because of them. Their emotional bonds gave them reason to fight. Their stubbornness made them persistent. Their imagination let them see possibilities others missed. Their willingness to take risks opened doors that other species never even approached. Thank you, Marcus, she said. I have learned much today. Happy to help, Marcus said, standing. If you want to learn more about humans, stop reading files and start talking to us. We're full of surprises. As Marcus walked away, Lyra watched him go, her mind full of new questions and possibilities. She had approached the human expecting to catalog facts and behaviors. Instead, she had glimpsed something deeper, a species that refused to be limited by biology, logic, or circumstance. Tom approached her table. Well, did you satisfy your curiosity? Lyra's tail swished excitedly. No, I have more questions now than when I started. Tom sighed, boo.